Have you ever tried caring for a critically ill loved one and trying to build your business at the same time? Because you're trying to provide for your family, so you need an income. And time just becomes this crucial thing. And so, what if time didn't have to be this critical issue all the time? Would that be valuable to you? What if you could create a stress-free system, yeehaw, sign me up for that, that would make caregiving easier and less time consuming? And what if you didn't have to choose between caregiving and as being a successful entrepreneur? Like, let's just not even have to choose between the two. So today we're talking about that with our special guest today, Melissa Miller. So I'm awesome Angie Ingstrom.
And I'm Gita Adgard. And we're so happy to welcome you here today, Melissa. So we're happy to have you here, Momentum Makers podcast. So welcome, Melissa.
Thank you both ladies for having me. It's a privilege to be here. So I'm very excited that I could come and share with you today. It's so exciting.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm just going to share a little bit about you for those of our audience who don't know you already. So now Melissa, she's a certified nursing assistant who's worked in long-term care facilities for 15 years. Today, she uses all of that experience helping online business owners create simple, stress-free systems that make caring for the chronically ill loved ones easier, thereby freeing up time so they don't have to choose between caring for the chronically ill loved ones and going after their online business dream. I love this concept. I just gotta say that, Melissa.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it can feel like a daunting task trying to prioritize your loved one and go after your online dreams and your business. So, but I just am here to say it doesn't have to be a choice. It doesn't have to be a choice.
Great message.
I love that. So thank you, Melissa, for being here on Momentum Maker Podcast. So let's jump right into your story. I'd love to hear, all of us, our listeners, we'd all love to hear what inspired you to start this business.
Well, it was really out of necessity. So my husband started having what we now know were epileptic seizures back in December of 2019. So right before the pandemic. Then in April of 2020 was his first horrible month. That was the first month he started averaging 10 to 20 plus seizures a month. It was so bad. And we were navigating being new parents to our 1 year old on top of this right now. And now we were shut down from the pandemic. So in April, so in May, my husband was continuing to decline. The general neurologist that we had been working with was at the end of his rope. He didn't have anything else that he could give us for my husband to try. So we transitioned care to a neurologist specialist. And the neurologist specialist says, okay, we're going to start a new treatment, but there's the risk of even more seizures, breakthrough seizures, because we're transitioning from one treatment to another. So you probably need to be home for the next 3 weeks to really monitor him. And that medical leave, I never actually went back to work. I kept extending my leave because throughout the summer, June, July of 2020, my husband continued to decline in health. He did not get better. We blew through another treatment, medication. It did not work. And I just had this gut feeling that we're in a season now where I can't go back to work. I need to be home on site to take care of our daughter. We have a pandemic going on, and wasn't wild about thinking with my medical brain after being in healthcare for 15 years. I don't want a stranger in my house, just out of risk of having a 1 year old and my husband who has a chronic illness, and I don't want him to be exposed either. So I started I started toying around with a blog in May when I started that what was supposed to be 3 week medical leave. And what ended up happening was I took that blog and tried to play around with it all the summer and into the fall. And I just realized I wasn't a strong writer. It just wasn't me. There was a piece missing. I worked with a couple blog coaches, but it just wasn't really fitting because I wasn't really being able to find what I wanted to write about. So I hired my first business coach in October of 2020. I still work with her today. Shout out Faith Mariah. And I realized that, you know what, I really love intentional conversations. I really love helping people. And it's been an evolutionary process of the last year and a half has been the most mind blowing for me because I finally figured out what I want to do, which was targeting actually entrepreneurs who are not who are dealing with caring for chronically ill loved ones, where healthcare and caregiving is not their first skill set. Their first skill set is their online business. And that was really after a year and a half in my business of launching my first program, Finding Your Balance, and realizing it was not the right content. It was targeting family caregivers who, obviously, as an entrepreneur, we need people who are going to pay us. And I realized I have this unique story of balancing building a business from scratch out of necessity. And I could do it reverse for people who are successful as entrepreneurs and are struggling with the new skill set of learning to be a caregiver. Because I've had to do that in real time, both professionally and personally. And I knew that I have something new and special to bring to the table. And I'm just passionate about taking my knack and love for creating systems and helping entrepreneurs who obviously are very system driven realize they can do the same thing, because caregiving and entrepreneurship are very similar. And so that is just what I'm passionate about teaching today to my clients.
Caregiving and entrepreneurship are very similar. Can you speak to that for a minute?
Of course. Well, think about it. You need to have for example, time management. We have a schedule, right? We have our task list that we got to get through. There are no-brainers every day, weekly, monthly, however you want to, slice it or dice it as entrepreneurs. And then as caregivers, same thing. We have to make sure our loved ones have their medications. We have to make sure they have their therapy. We have to, just document and monitor what we're seeing with our loved ones' health to be able to give the most information possible to their medical teams, which gives them clues about what's working, what's not working. Is there something new that's brewing that we need to get on top of? Because you're the eyes and ears as a caregiver for your loved one, and then you're the eyes and ears of your business too. You have to kind of test things and observe and see what works, what doesn't. So a lot of beta testing, a lot of trial and error, a lot of flops. And as a caregiver, sometimes it's the same thing too, because everyone is different, especially with my experience of epilepsy, seizure disorders. You could have 50 people in the same room with the diagnosis of epilepsy, but I guarantee you they will not be on the same dose of medication. Some of them will need surgery, some of them won't. Some of them will need device placement. Some of them will even have a whole bunch of different triggers and symptoms of their illness. Everyone's different because you're dealing with someone's unique brain when you're dealing with a seizure disorder. Okay, and even if you have someone in your family tree that has epilepsy, you might have some similarities, but again, your parent is a unique individual and you are a unique individual. So there will be similarities, but something different. So it's similar. You just have to create a path of having time for your business, time for yourself, and systems to help you do that, and breaking it down into bite-sized pieces to where it isn't a stressful situation.
I love that. That's a
Okay.
really neat concept. I thank you for bringing that up. That's really neat.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
excellent.
Absolutely.
I was thinking for our listeners who are listening or perhaps watching this interview, do you have some kind of process you use when you help your clients? And would you speak to that process?
Absolutely. Well, it depends on where they're coming from. If I have a client that's coming to me that's struggling more with like just being overwhelmed with like, I've never been a caregiver, I feel overwhelmed by all this information I have thrown at me. What do I do with it? And how do I process it and organize it? So the first thing I would have them do is we'll focus on P of my prompt framework, which is prepare for the unexpected. So the basics there are just getting you in the habit of documenting and managing your loved one's illness. So what I call it is a medical healthcare packet or a medical binder, however you want it, either way you term it. Basically, you're consolidating your loved one's medical history. So starting from day one, getting in the habit of documenting current diagnoses, dates of procedures, current medications, the rules for when you give them, dosing instructions, contact information for all your doctors and specialists, insurance information. So preference of hospital, preference of urgent care facility, pharmacies, signs and symptoms of your loved one's illness, and then provocations, which is basically a big medical term for what makes it worse, and listing all that information out and having it in a secure spot, whether that's a note on your app, whether it's a Google Doc, something in Google Drive or Google Sheets, or I have a PDF on my website that I give my clients if they prefer to write by hand, or even just a notebook, just somewhere to keep documenting that information and adding to it, because with a chronic illness, you never start and end in the same spot. And again, everyone's different. So, having just getting in the habit of writing everything down so that way, you don't have to worry about forgetting it. And then you can reference that when you're at follow-up appointments with your doctors, when you're getting ready for procedures, or unfortunately, when you're in those really heightened situations of an emergency, be it a trip to the ER or
Did she freeze
care,
up?
long-term care.
Did she freeze up, Geety?
Yeah.
No, I'm still here.
All right. Okay.
Oh,
Start that sentence again. We had a glitch.
Oh, the last sentence?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then and just obviously home health and hospice too at end of life, because that just continued to document like what's happening and just for the progression of their illness. So that way they have the information they need to up the ante on whether it's, just comfort care type measures of like morphine, medications, just to make sure that they're comfortable.
That is fantastic advice to I mean, yeah, I haven't been in the situation myself, so but I can only imagine all the things you can't remember all that stuff. Like,
No.
there's just no way.
no,
You
yeah,
have
no,
to
you
write it
can't.
down and document it and keep it organized and be able to access it and then have other people potentially access it. And wow, I mean, that's how powerful. Simple, but powerful.
Right. And that's why I say having two. So obviously I know for me on the go, just being able to write something down like digitally is helpful, but
Mm,
also having a paper copy in case your
mm,
computer crashes or freezes or your phone crashes or breaks, or something. Having two copies and then obviously going back every 3 to 6 months and updating, or maybe sooner, depending on what your loved one's health is. I mean, if they're really kind of going towards end of life, I would obviously update things a little bit more frequently. But if you're kind of in like the kind of just you're finally kind of in a rhythm and at a baseline with with your loved one's health, kind of where I'm at with my husband after 4 years, we finally got it ironed out. We got him on a good treatment. Then it's just kind of just maintenance, just keeping track every 3 to 6 months and checking in with the medical team about where we're at. Has anything new started, or are we still good and stable? And just continuing to keep those notes updated, because that binder really helps you, especially more than anything in an emergency situation, because EMTs and ER doctors, especially if you're at a hospital, or even if you're at the same hospital, you don't always have the same team. So being able to just quickly access and show them what the basics are of your loved ones, what the basics of your loved ones' health struggles are right out the gate, that makes it a lot faster for them when they're needing to triage, which is a big word for just figuring out what's going on, when there is another problem potentially brewing. So they know what they need to keep in place and keep stable. And then that helps them also then be able to go and triage and figure out what else is going on.
And
okay.
how cool the correlation between caretaking and business ownership, because the same thing in business, we need systems, processes, keep track of things.
Mm-hmm.
You want to speak to that for a moment too?
Absolutely. So, the biggest thing I would say as a business owner is, besides having set office hours, designate time when you can work, having a back-end hub. I personally have tried so many different softwares. So I've done Notion, I've done Asana, I've done Airtable, ClickUp, you name it. I really love Notion the best because I can create custom templates with reoccurring tasks that I do every week. But then I also created in that template a section for like bigger projects. So like if I have like a launch coming up or a summit I'm participating in, I do have one set board for all those tasks and checklists, if you will. But when I'm going week by week, I'll just type in there for this week, oh, I need to send out this email's due this week, so I need to make sure I do that at some point this week. Or, oh, I need to send out 2 social media blurbs, so I need to write that in. Or, oh, I need to update the sales page because I'm adding a bonus this round for launching my workshop or something like that. So then it makes it really easy. And especially if you do templates, the cool thing about Notion is you just basically create a database or a page, click, and then every database automatically gives you a menu button where it says new. It's a blue button, and you just click new, and you can click new template, and then you can just have it populate over and over again with something that you're going to do again. So like, for example, I have one for weekly tasks. So every week I just go in, click new template. I have all my reoccurring tasks there. I just add in what project tasks I have for that week, and I just change the dates, and that just shows up on my Notion calendar. Or if you have like a bigger project, I have one for launches, I have one for my podcast, and it just makes it faster to be able to just organize and plan. So I'm really cutting down the time I'm spending on planning, and I'm spending more time executing, because you're wanting to get stuff done and be consistent with that. And then also too, the last thing I will speak to that is, then it's twofold. You know how we need to access past health history for our loved ones. Same thing as a business owner, repurpose, right? So if there's something, if we're kind of maybe in a slump, or if we're in a slump where we're just kind of, what should I talk about? What should I do? You can just pull, if you have it organized, you can just pull that content again and use it again. Or if you're wanting to, or if you have an idea, you can look at that for inspiration and just duplicate, or you can just duplicate. Or like if you do active launches, like live launches, like I do, I'm pretty much doing the same thing, just adding and improving and tweaking every time. I'm just duplicating my templates and just changing the dates and using it again. So I'm not really reinventing the wheel. I'm just duplicating and using it again and again and again.
And that's Notion, Notion?
ION. Yeah, it's a free app. Like with any software out there, guys, every app out there has like a paid version. With Notion, on a lot of these, I have some dear friends who I've been working with for years, like 3-4 years, that use Asana or ClickUp, and same thing, you know, but they like the layout of those systems, of those platforms better, but they use the free versions too, and they have not even upgraded. There's, you know, you can do a lot of things with the free versions of a lot of these platforms, just so you know. You don't need all the bells and whistles. Is it nice? Of course, but then you're having to carve out more money. And if you're a baby business owner like I am, where I'm still building my clientele, still building my brand, and I don't have consistent ROI yet, you know, less is more. Go with where you can kind of leverage what tools you can for free. So until you can treat yourself when your business starts making consistent money.
Thank you for that tip. I'd never heard of Notion. That's a new one for me. I'm a junkie with all that stuff too. Because each one has their own things that I like. Yeah,
they do. And that's the thing too. I will say, with your systems, part of a system isn't meant to stress you out. Okay, whether it's on the caregiving side, whether it's on the business side, I want you creating a system that makes sense to your brain, and that you're going to be able to stick with. Because the system, when I teach systems, it's mainly to keep your stress to a low roar. If you're stressed out about trying to plan because it's not working, I think you need to revamp your planning system, okay? Or you're trying to do too much or make it too complicated. Less is more. So if you're a paper person, do a planner. If you're a digital person, you know, look at the different softwares out there to see which one works for you, and stick to one for 90 days before you decide that it doesn't work for you, because there is a learning curve to some of these different platforms, okay? If your Google Calendar is another option. Everyone has Google Calendar. I personally love it for keeping track, at least, of my meetings, because it connects with my email. It will throw the meeting and the Zoom link up there for me, and I can do custom alert reminders if I want to have it. I personally like to have reminders a day in advance, so I know a day in advance what's coming down the pipeline. That personally is just how I am. It keeps my stress level down. But for some people, maybe they need to have a day in advance one, a week in advance one, and like 2 hours before or 30 minutes before. Do it. You know, create your system and what helps keep you feeling like you're in control. Okay. But I don't want you swinging the pendulum the other way and obsessing about it too much and making it too complicated to where then it stresses you out, because then you won't get anything accomplished and you'll just ditch it. I don't want you ditching your systems.
I love this conversation. Oh my gosh, this is awesome. Did you have something, Geety, to add?
No, yeah, sort of. I just wanted to clarify for our audience. So the systems you use actually for your clients, helping them care for their chronically ill loved ones, is that sort of the same system that you use for your business?
Sort of. It's a little different with the business. I still, on both sides, let me back up. Sorry, my brain's getting ahead of my mouth. Sorry. Either way, as a caregiver and a business owner, I still want you to break down your tasks into daily, weekly, monthly. That's kind of the baseline of everything with how you do your systems and your tasks. Okay, what is a non-negotiable daily thing that you have to do every day? What is something that you could get by with doing once a week? What is something you can get by with doing once a month? And then if there's anything else on that list, either outsource it to somebody else or ditch it. Okay. You don't, I
I
want you
love that.
focusing, I want you just focusing on what you need to do. So for the caregiving side, it might be daily would be medications. Weekly or monthly might be a medical appointment or OT, occupational therapy or physical therapy. Um, and then like personally, because as a caregiver, lots of times your loved ones still live with you, you're still needing to do all the day-to-day things like keeping up with the house or something. So let's just use laundry as an example. I personally have the system of like I watch our hampers when they get to be 3/4 to all the way full, I run a load. It might mean now that I'm going to be doing a couple loads a week, but it's a lot better and easier for me than trying to do a set day because it never happens. And then I'm overwhelmed because the hamper's overflowing and I'm trying to do 4 or 5 loads to catch up. Okay. Then on so on the but then let's talk about the business side. The business side might be a podcast once a week, but then you break it down. So like personally for my flow is I record on Tuesdays. I edit all my content, my transcription content on Wednesdays. Thursday, I am starting to schedule and upload. Friday, I'm starting to schedule promotions. And then Monday, I'm blasting it out because that's the day that it goes. So break it down. So then maybe if you don't have a podcast, maybe for you a weekly task is doing your newsletter or a blog post. Maybe daily is doing 1 or 2 reels on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or wherever. Maybe a monthly task is looking at your numbers. What's your click rate? What's your ROI numbers? What is something that you've been getting? Are you noticing a pattern with how people are responding to content? Have you seen an upflow in comments or views on your content or something? So there's so many different tasks and moving pieces, both to being a caregiver and a business owner. Like I said, they're so similar, but the baseline of it all is just breaking everything down into daily, weekly, monthly tasks, and then ditching whatever is not in falls into any of those 3 categories, and deciding which way, how do you want to organize it? Digitally, paper, a blend of the two, and just running with it and tweaking until you got it.
So good. You make it sound so easy. I love that.
It's easy, right? It sounds easy, but
Yeah.
our brain doesn't like us to do anything new.
No,
Yes.
exactly.
It freaks out. It does not like to do that. So that's why being intentional, and that's why and that's where habit stacking can be helpful. Okay. And habit stacking. So like I know when I was a CNA, I would have to habit stack because I'd have 15 to 30 patients. So I'd have to move and I'd only have X amount of time to do X, Y, and Z tasks, whether it's toileting, bathing, doing vitals, stocking supplies, talking with the nurse and helping her maybe with some assessments. There's so much to do. So sometimes you have to habit stack. So back in my CNA days, one way I would habit stack is while I would get the patient up, get them toileted, and then I'd get them to the sink while they're combing their hair, brushing their teeth, putting their dentures, and I'd be making their bed and starting to tie up all the dirty laundry and trash. So that way, when I left the room to go to my next patient, I had all that stuff ready to go, and I'm hauling butt to the next patient because I only have so much time to give with each patient. It was tough. But now for me, something that I do now is while my daughter's getting ready for school, and I don't do any business stuff when I'm trying to get her up and going in the morning because it takes more focus. So I try to knock out stuff that doesn't make more focus. So first thing in the morning, I'm looking at the hamper. Do I need to start a little line? Done. I'm looking at the dishwasher. Did it get run the night before? Okay, like this morning I actually did. Emptied that, reloaded it, done. Getting some of those household tasks off my to-do list. So when I come back, I eat and I start work. And then I don't have the stress of going, oh gosh, I got to do the dishes and the laundry when I'm done. You know what I mean? So it's going to be different for everyone. So how could you do that? How could you habit stack your routine in your day? Maybe for you, it's getting up 15 minutes early so you can have 15 minutes of quiet to yourself and to sip your coffee in peace before the kids wake up or before your loved one who's sick wakes up and you're going to need to be giving them attention. Maybe Your business hours are, I know a couple of years ago when my daughter was still small and before we moved in with my dad, I would get up early. I would get up like at 5 and work from 5 to 7 before they started waking up. And then I was in mom mode for the rest of the day. That's, I can do more now to some degree because she's in school, but depending on the season of life that you're in with your loved one's
Mm.
illness and other personal roles you have, because I have more than one role. I'm a caregiver and business coach. I'm a care spouse or a caregiver for my husband. I'm a mother. I'm a stay-at-home mom. So there's all these different hats that we still wear, even
Mm.
when we're caregivers or entrepreneurs. So how
Yeah.
can you blend your systems to where you can meet those roles without tapping out and burning out and without stressing yourself out? Because that's where I don't want you to go.
Such an important message.
Yeah. And just to be clear for our listeners, can you define habit stacking?
Okay, habit stacking is basically just blending tasks that you do to get that you do together, so that way they get accomplished. So, for example, I know since I have to come in to do my work at my computer, if I want to incorporate my Bible study, which is a video lesson, but I want to make sure it gets done. I come into my office, and the first thing I do is my devotion for the day. I watch that first, and I give myself half an hour, and then I go into my daily tasks for the day. So I don't open up anything for work on my computer until I get through my devotional lesson for the day. So I'm hitting something that's personal and important to me, and that I want to be consistent with. But then I'm also, obviously in my office, having my set office
Mm.
hours. So
Nice. Okay. Excellent. Yeah, there's so many
yeah.
different tactics and ways that people can organize the day, and I love how you speak to the brain. Like everyone processes things differently, and everyone's going to be unique on how this system works for them. So I love,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, I want, like here's the thing. There's so many other more business owners like I am, okay? And there's lots of other caregivers. I mean, everyone has an opinion about something. Okay. What I want you guys to do, for those of you who are listening, is I want you to clear out the noise and just do what works for you.
I love
So
that.
take what
Yeah.
what I'm telling you to do, not literally like you have to do it exactly to a T, because I struggle with this in my own business of like, oh gosh, she's making 6 I need to do the exact system I said. Baloney. No, you need to just take what you're hearing with a grain of salt, filter it out, and tweak it into a way that works for you. So I want you taking how I taught you how to be prepared for the unexpected and tweak it in a way that works for you. So
Love
maybe
that.
you don't use Notion or any digital tools, but you have a really organized binder that has like 5 different sections for medications and medical history and symptoms and triggers. Do it. I'm okay with that. Or you do a Google Doc. I don't care. Just do something and do it in a way that works for your brain. What makes sense to you?
I love
Yeah,
that.
or if you do use a
Mm.
Notion tool, I guarantee you, I have so many friends I've met through the mastermind I'm being trained in that we love Notion. We're nerds on this, and it's all thanks to our coach, so it's all her fault. But anyway, but still, we all use it differently. I guarantee you, like we were talking about this the other day, we all bouncing off some ideas from each other, and we were all figuring out different things of what we can do. Oh, I like this layout better, or I like to see things in calendar view, or I like to see things in table, or I like to see things in the kind of like Trello where you can slide the cards from day to day and
Mm.
just keep track that way. That's fine. Yes, do it. Go. I want you to do it that way. That's the foundational importance of creating systems, of figuring out a way that works for you, because that's when you're going to thrive. If you have a system in place that helps you keep your stress down, be more consistent, more productive, and not burn out, win, win, win,
Woohoo!
win, win, win.
I love the nerdy talk. I love this. I love the details like that. It's so cool to get, like you said, get in a room with people that understand it all and like share
Yeah,
ideas, and then just
yeah,
pick your own and go
yeah.
with it. Be happy with
Pick
it.
your own and adapt it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So
and
it
tweak
fits
it.
your needs. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
great.
and surround yourself with support. That's the other component. You can't do
Yeah.
this alone. So whether it's hiring a coach like myself, whether it's joining a support group virtually via Zoom, I don't care, or on Facebook, or in person at your local church or community of faith or community center, do it. You can't do this alone. You're not supposed to do this alone. Okay. It doesn't have to be a choice between your business and your dreams, but it also doesn't mean that you have to do this alone. We're human beings. Like, if there's anything COVID taught us, is that we do not thrive when we're isolated and separated from other human beings. We need to be around other people. So as you're navigating this complicated role of caregiving and building an online business, you need some business besties and you need some coaches and mentors in your pocket. But then you also need, as a caregiver, the medical support. So home health and hospice is definitely an awesome tool, whether your loved one's on their deathbed or not, because I worked in home health for a year and a half. Primarily, most of my career, I was in long-term healthcare facilities, but home health is awesome because they're there not only to do ADL, activities of daily living, which is basically toileting, bathing, grooming, dressing, medications. Okay. They're there for other things. I had a few clients when I was a home health aide where I wasn't really there to do anything except to make sure that she ate her meal, make sure she remembered to take her medication, and to just be an adult on site until her family got home. So that way, an adult was present if she fell for some reason or had a panic attack or a heart attack or something, God forbid, and I could call 911. So leverage that. If you need a couple hours to yourself to get a break, but you're in a situation where your loved one cannot be home alone, an aide could come in and sit with them. That's what I did. And they can do light housekeeping. They can do light meal prep. They can help with the medications. They can do light laundry. Leverage those hours. Now, the way it works is insurance will give you only so many hours. So you can always tweak. So if you're in a season right now where you have everything down for your loved one, but you just need a break and you would feel safer leaving the house, like to go to your Bible study or a coffee chat with your friend once a week for an hour, but you feel more comfortable having an adult on site, and you get like 4 hours of home health, use one of them right now. It doesn't mean that you can't. I would rather you start, and then even if you start, you can always add more hours later. Okay, it's another form of tweaking. Right now, maybe you just need an hour a week. Maybe next time, maybe in 3 months from now, because your loved one's really declining and the caregiving load is getting heavier, you need a break and you need a chance for someone to be there longer, more often. Maybe they come in 3 times a week. Maybe they come in 4. Or with home health or hospice, respite is a big thing. So respite basically is a big word for a break. Okay. And what respite is basically where the home health or the hospice agency will take care of. They partner with different long-term care facilities in their local areas. And if you say, help, I need a break, I need a respite, they will take care of the transportation and everything of transporting your loved one from your home to the facility, and then the facility will watch them, 24/7 care for like 5 days or whatever. When I cared for my dad, I never used it because he passed away pretty suddenly, but when we were on hospice, I was able to get like 5 days respite if I needed to. I just had to call in advance because they have to, do paperwork and kind of take care of everything to get things organized. But I would have been able to get 5 days of respite. They would have helped out with the transportation to and from the facility. And that gives you a break from the caregiving. Sometimes you need that. And as a CNA in long-term health, I did have some patients that were just strictly respite patients that I took care of for only a week or two. And then they went back to their family because their families were just needing that break. So there's lots of ways to get support. There's lots of ways to get a break. I want you to do that because that's part of your systems, because you have to take care of your mind, your body, and your soul. It all starts with you. If you don't take care of you first, guess what? You're no good to yourself. You're no good to your loved one who's sick. You're no good to your spouse, your kids, or anybody else that you have in your life and your family unit that you have to take care of, and you're no good to your clients. Point blank.
Yeah.
So take care of yourself.
That's a great message. So much value. Thank you so much for sharing all that. And I know with your business, tell us in like 10 seconds, what exactly is your business?
I help entrepreneurs create simple, stress-free systems to make caregiving easier so they can still go after their dreams in their online business.
I love that. And could you share a successful client story that you've had? Our listeners love stories. So
well, I haven't had a client yet, but I've had 2 times where I've gotten to coach some people where they didn't become a client, but I had one where she was just so overwhelmed with her, because she was caring for multiple family members, and she just was just stuck with like, I have all this information, but after talking with me, she realized I just need to create a binder form because I'm trying to remember stuff for two people and I can't remember it all. And so she just got a lighter load just by realizing, okay, I just need to start a binder. And that took so much stress off her shoulders. And she was like, ding, 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 ding. And then I had another gal I got to coach where she was more on her business side. She had her caregiving stuff under control, but it was more her business that was kind of the struggle bus. And she was into Notion like I was, but she was just struggling with like, how do I organize keeping track of what I do and what I need to do, what I have done? How do I keep track of it all? So I taught her how to create templates, in a just create databases because it's simple. It's just Notion has a learning curve, but I just had to teach her. It's like, listen, Notion is basically just pages within pages and databases within databases, and you can tweak it however you want. So I just got her in the habit of creating personalized templates to help cut down on the playing time, so she wasn't having to start from scratch every time. It's like, no, okay, I'm planning my week. Here's my weekly template. Oh, I'm planning for a live event. Oh, here's my live event template. Oh, I'm planning for a summit or a bundle that I'm speaking at. Okay, here's my template with all that information in it. And it just made such a difference. She was like, wow, I don't feel so stressed now. Oh, gee, I wonder why.
Wow, that's awesome. Speak really
Amazing.
quickly. Can you speak to Notion in terms of teams? Like, can teams use Notion?
Yes. Well, pretty much any software can. Teams, I'm a one-man show right now, so I'm not to the point where I can have a VA yet. But yeah, but the idea with Notion is that you can you have the ability to tag and add teams and to see certain boards. So like you could assign tasks to different people if you have teams.
Gotcha.
I know Asana you certainly can too, is you can assign tasks because they have an actual assign task too, but you can do the same thing in Notion too. I haven't personally played around with it. I'm not there yet, but you can. You can.
Gotcha. Awesome. I'm going to look into that. That's super cool.
Yeah, free. It's free.
Yeah. Thank you. Now it's obvious that you provide such an amazing and a really great service to your clients. So I'm wondering, when people don't end up working with you, what's holding them back? What's your experience?
That's a good question. I think part of it is it's probably two things. Either they're not ready, and that's okay. You have to get to a place where you're ready.
Hmm.
Or it could be that I'm just not the right fit. And that's with anybody. Okay. You have to get
Yeah.
part of having what I call it, it's part of we are in my prompt framework is reaching out for support. So building your support network is essential. And whether in terms of being a coach, I know I'm not going to always be the right fit for everybody. I want only the right people that fit for me. And I know as entrepreneurs, that's the big thing that we're after is connecting with the right clientele and building our empires that way. So,
Mm.
but like with anything, you have to be ready. They have to be willing to ask. They have to be in that clean spot where they're open to asking for help, and there is that element of when you're working with someone, personality, beliefs, opinions, how they teach. I know for me, after almost 4 years of being in the industry, um, there's definitely been some people that I've liked better than others because of that, just
Mm.
personality or how they teach. Because remember, we have our unique brains, right? And so we absorb information a certain way. So maybe I won't be a good fit because the way I teach things is too simple. They want something more elaborate, or maybe um, they like what I teach, but they're just not ready financially, or they're not ready to commit. You know,
And
it's
I'll add one, Melissa. They don't know about you yet. So
exactly that's
Yeah.
another one too. They don't know
That's
me
so
yet.
true.
someone
Yeah.
listening to this podcast and watching this YouTube video right now, you're thinking of someone that needs Melissa.
Yeah, probably.
So, yeah.
Hmm.
So if you're thinking of that person, and it could be yourself, what would the next step be, Melissa? What would someone do to reach out to you? What would they need to do?
Connect with me on Instagram. Shoot me a DM. Say, DM me the word interested, and we'll touch base. We can get you hooked. I can hook you up with a free call, and we can talk about where you're at, be it your business or your self care or your caregiving. You know, those are the 3 areas I tackle because they all are intertwined. So that'd be the best place for you to touch base with me, and your girl will hook you up. So
Sounds
Excellent. And
amazing.
what's that Instagram handle?
I am on Instagram at Melissa Miller 2011. So MELISSA Miller MILLER 2011. That's where you can find me.
Excellent.
Great. Okay, so listeners, if you're listening now and you're thinking, hey, it might be Melissa I need to help me with my chronically ill loved one, or perhaps you're thinking about somebody else. Perhaps you're thinking about your mom who's taking care of your dad, or it could be your sister who's taking care of her kid, or whoever it might be. Just where 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 do you go, Melissa? Would you mind repeating it?
Oh, Instagram at Melissa Miller 2011.
Exactly. So you go to Melissa Miller, and she'll guide you on, and you'll have a call with her. So yeah, I'm Kid Adkaf.
And I'm Angie Engstrom. So thank you, listeners, for listening. Keep your momentum, keep moving forward. Melissa, do you have any final words to share with our listeners as we wrap up here?
I'll just end. I'll just end how I end every newsletter with my clients is you're doing the best you can. You're not alone. Give yourself grace on those hard caregiving and business days. And just remember that it's not a choice. It doesn't have to be a choice. You don't have to choose between prioritizing your loved one, be it a parent, grandparent, sister, kid, or your business. You can do both. And I'm here to help you do both.
I love that. Thank you, Melissa. So much value. I appreciate your work in the world and just following that path and sharing your wisdom with all of our listeners. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yay! So,
Thank
listeners,
you.
if you want to learn more about Geety and I and what we do with Elite Virtual Stages, we help businesses scale using virtual events. You can find us on Facebook as well as on the web at elitevirtualstages.com/report. That'll give you a good overview of kind of, why would I need to do a virtual event? That's a great place to start. And yeah, so keep your momentum, keep moving forward. Thank you, Melissa, for joining us. Have a great day, everyone.